get started anyway.
Here we go.
Hey, Maggie.
Hey, Emily. Good to see you from sunny Florida.
Yeah, how's the weather today?
It's so hot, I decided to take a walk to meet up with a friend for breakfast, and it seemed like a really good idea until I was walking home with a really full belly, and I'm still kind of recovering from it, I think.
Hot weather. That's awesome. Hey to everyone tuning in right now. I'm Emily. This is Maggie. We'll do some formal introductions in a moment. We just want to give folks a minute to gather. Hope that you are having a lovely summer Sunday, and we're so grateful that you've carved out a little bit of time today to join us to chat about some of our upcoming programs and events here at the Florida School of Holistic Living.
As we're waiting for folks to come in, Emily, you want to share a little bit about what's happening at Sage Mountain right now?
Yeah, so I'm tuning in from Sage Mountain in Indakina, unceded Abenaki territory known as Central Vermont. And it is a warm day for us up here, which means like 77 degrees or something like that. Summer is a very full, vibrant season. Today, the dahlias are opening and the zinnias, and just have lots more flowers starting their bloom and moving through their process. So we've been seeing some moose tracks and some bear scat on the trail. So very active season for the humans and the non-humans alike up here at Sage Mountain.
That sounds so lovely, and fun to think about how Vermont has these two seasons where it's really like winter and bloom as much as possible season. So
yeah, that's about right.
Yep. I feel like in Florida we have summer and then blooming gingers, I get to walk around and nibble those beautiful ginger flowers this time of year as we're getting rains every day and watching our summer rainy season really allow for new growth and a lot of new leaves after a pretty dry season here.
Yeah. I know we have folks tuning in from Florida and possibly also from other spots around the continent or the planet. So I invite folks that are tuning in today to drop a little comment. Let us know where you're tuning in from and what's blooming in your gardens today.
It's a great idea, Emily. As we're waiting for folks to come in before our formal introductions, I am excited to let folks know that we do have a garden work day coming up at the Florida School of Holistic Living. And it feels like this period of hibernation has been, as we have been mostly online, has been a really great time to think about with great intention the things that are going to happen in the garden. And I'm really looking forward to things that are coming up this fall.
Well, welcome, friends. Some of what we are here to be excited about and to share with you are some of our fall programs in and out of the garden. And so we'll go ahead and kick things off. Welcome to all of you. And whether you're tuning in live on a Sunday afternoon or checking out the replay, I just want to thank you for carving out some time to share with Maggie and I. My name is Emily Ruff, founder of the Florida School of Holistic Living. And again, I am tuning in today from Indakina, the unceded Abenaki territory known as Central Vermont, from a little mountaintop called Sage Mountain. Those of you that have been in our herbal program may know of it as the home and teaching center of herbalist Rosemary Gladstar for the last 30 years. And my roots are deep in the Florida swamps, but my work has taken me up here to Vermont for the last several years on and off. And I am grateful for all the technologies and electrons and fiber cables that allow us to still gather in circle from all parts of the East Coast to share. So thank you for welcoming me, Maggie, down into the Florida swamps to share a little bit today.
It's lovely to have you joining us, not just through the interwebs, but through the mycelium network of the plants, from Vermont down to Florida. And welcome everyone. I'm Maggie O'Halloran, one of the educators at the Florida School of Holistic Living and current executive director, where I hold down the things here and watch out for the roots here, as Emily is up in Vermont most of the year. Glad you could all make it. We look forward to sharing about upcoming programming and answer any questions. We're really here to answer questions. So make sure to drop any and all questions either in the comment box on Facebook Live, or if you're checking this out later, make sure to send us an email with any questions that maybe we didn't cover during this video.
Absolutely. And to start off, our website, holisticlivingschool.org. It's also a great place to find out more about the programs that we'll be talking about today, and also to drop us a line with a question or a comment or some feedback. Debbie and the team at the school will be happy to answer any questions that arise.
Yeah, so Debbie, our wonderful student liaison, is always available either by phone or through the Office at Holistic Living School email address. And Debbie is not only a fantastic student liaison for us, but she's also one of our educators and graduate of our Community Herbalist program that we'll be getting into in a moment.
Yeah, Debbie, Maggie, Rita, Chris, Shannon, myself, and a whole cadre of volunteers and work study crew and other teachers make up the Florida School of Holistic Living. And for those of you that are new to the school, just a quick intro. We started in 1999 as the Florida School of Herbal Studies and changed our name in 2007 to reflect more broadly the work that we do in Central Florida and beyond. And we're a 501c3 nonprofit, and our headquarters are over in the Altamont-Maitland area. Maggie mentioned our garden work day coming up soon, but as many of you know or have participated in through the pandemic, we also have been providing a lot of programs through distance learning with the intention of still providing a lot of immersions and hands-on learning, even if we're joining each other from the comfort of our own homes. And the school offers a wide range of workshops and classes for all different levels of experience and interest, a one-off program, a full training course. We'll talk about some of those today. We also offer continuing education units. So if you are a nurse or a massage therapist or a dietitian or midwife or an acupuncture physician or a respiratory therapist, you can receive credits for taking classes at the school to go towards renewing your license.
And that's true whether you live in Florida, where we can upload them directly to CE Broker through Florida website, or we can send you a certificate of completion that, in our experience, most state governing bodies will accept, but make sure you check your state governing body to make sure.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So we today wanted to share broadly about our family herbalist and community herbalist programs, which are coming up this fall. But before we jump into those, I thought it'd be helpful to introduce you to our core curriculum, our herbalist training journey, which starts with our Roots of Herbalism program. Our Roots of Herbalism program is taught by Maggie and Debbie and guest teachers as a live weekend course periodically, at least once a season, sometimes more often. And we also offer the same curriculum packaged as a home study course for asynchronous self-learning and guidance. You're still supported by a robust online community and access to the teachers, but you get to learn at your own pace. And that course covers over 25 herbs, basics of herbal medicine making, basic philosophy of holistic health and herbalism, some history, some gardening, just really a great introduction for those of you that are interested in herbalism. Maybe you've dabbled in some home herbalism or kitchen herbalism already, and you're ready to take the next step. And that program, again, is a live in-person weekend course or a self-paced home study program with the same curriculum. And you can also find a sample of that curriculum online. So if you want to just get a taste of what we offer in that class, you can sign up for our free sample of the Roots class to get a little taste of what you'll learn there. And that program is the introductory program of our core curriculum. So it's the first step in our 3-step curriculum. Our second step, after you've graduated Roots, whether live or home study, you can join us for our Family Herbalist program. And following our Family Herbalist is Community Herbalist program. And Maggie is our primary instructor for our family program. Maggie, could you tell us a little bit about the family course?
I would love to. So our Roots of Herbalism program is so jam-packed with information. Whether you're new to herbalism or you've been working with herbs for a while, it can be a great stepping off point to get to know our school and understand our philosophies around working with plants and the histories of herbalism that Emily and I have been working through, as well as other teachers that you would see in our Family Herbalist program, which is a collection of 13 modules taught either on full weekend intensive, much like our Roots of Herbalism program, except we have 4 weekends together, or online. And really something that has happened for us over the past couple of years is realizing how we can bring our Family Herbalist program to an audience that might need to have access to it through the online avenues. Whereas we are excited this fall, we will also be giving folks an opportunity to come back to that intensive weekend programming where we're getting together, we're covering the same information as the online version, except we're doing it actually right here. I'll show you a little bit. In this space, in this garden, right here in Central Florida, we get a chance to cover a little bit of growing, but definitely how about 150 plants can support and keep the body in a nice balance. We start by thinking about who we are as herbalists at our home, because really the primary focus of the Family Herbalist program is leaving you with a sense of confidence around taking care of things like, you know, a minor sniffle, a little bump or a bruise or something. That is the Family Herbalist. Really, that's our strength, right? Is being able to get into that place and feel really comfortable navigating those things. So we start with a little bit of anatomy, and it's not really a deep dive into anatomy. It's more of thinking about the body and these different systems that are happening that you've probably already thought about, at least, you know, in middle school or high school, but really thinking about it from an herbalist perspective. So I have a digestive system and I know kind of how it works, but I also have these plants that really I lean on for my digestive system. And so giving us a chance to really think about how each of these body systems and the herbs that have these historical uses and finding balance and ease in each of these systems, we discover the anatomy and physiology involved in that overlap just a little bit. Not super deep dive. This is not a super sciencey course, although I can geek out a little bit on some of these things. It's not a requirement. Really show up, get a chance to hear about these plants and how they're interacting with the body and some historical uses of them, as well as some ways that I or other teachers have been working with them in our own homes. And I am always surprised at how many of these plants are part of the students in the class, their own herbal tradition at home. You know, we'll start talking about a plant, Emily, and really think about in the classroom, we'll hear people talk about how, oh yeah, my mom or my grandmother or my auntie worked with this plant in this way, and I had no idea why. So part of the Family Herbalist program, from the mouth of Emily and Rosemary, it's really about remembering what we already know, because it wasn't that long ago that somebody in your house knew how to take care of people, knew about the plants that were growing out back and how they could help us find that balance. So the primary intention of that family herbalist program is really to get back to that place in a little bit, really just think about how we can be in that space of comfort around working with plants and the different body systems. And what does that look like? So in person, that looks like coming in on Saturday and Sunday, 1 weekend a month for 4 months. This fall, we start in September and we meet in October, November, and December with a final weekend in December. If you want more details, there are more details on our website. Deb has been and Rita have been kind enough to drop a couple of links if you're watching via Facebook. Those are there and you can check out the actual dates. But if you're here in person, we get together, we check in about ways that you have been working with the plants. We talk about a certain body system, we cover some of the plants within that body system, and then we're getting our hands on different applications for that plant in our lives, getting a chance to sample it, getting a chance to hear from other people about how they've been using that all day, Saturday and Sunday, for 4 weekends. Weaving in some of that medicine making, weaving in some of those stories, and lots of garden time. We really try to spend as much time outside as possible and engage with those plants in there where they're growing. It's a goal. If you're joining us remotely from Vermont or some other place, or even nearby, and those weekends just don't work out in your schedule, we cover the same material. And unfortunately, I haven't figured out the way to share a cup of tea through the internet, but if I could, I would. We get together 1 night a week. We will have a virtual program coming up beginning in January. Again, those dates can be found in our website. That version of the Family Herbalist program, we cover the same material as I mentioned, but we're meeting 1 day a week. So we get together on Tuesday evening from 6:30 to 9 p.m. and we talk about each of the individual body systems. We talk about growing. I bring a lot of pictures, and we talk about the flavors of different things. So it's a chance for you to engage with the plants in a really deep way, hopefully. And the only thing missing is actually being able to sample things. We want to give you an opportunity to really develop a sense of community with your family herbalist program cohort. So you get a chance to have this nice group of people that you can lean on. And that's true for the weekend program as well as the virtual program. The virtual program would be 13 of those Tuesday night sessions and end with a nice long weekend, all day Saturday and Sunday, 10 to 6, where we are giving you a chance to come into town or take 1 weekend instead of 4 to work with the plants in a medicine making environment. We just spend all day on Saturday working with a lot of the different ways of preparation that we talked about in the virtual landscape. Then Sunday we have some more practice time and we wrap it up. The beautiful thing about the virtual option is that even if you can't join us in person for that final weekend, you can join us via Zoom. It's actually on Zoom. You can join us that weekend and we try our hardest to help you to feel like you're really here. And then I just ship you all the things that you missed out on getting your hands on. It can be a great way to access the philosophies and plants that we at the Florida School of Holistic Living really value and want to share with our community. Feel free to drop any questions that you might have in the chat box or email them to us.
Yeah, I'd say one thing, Maggie, that we at the school and you and I as instructors individually have really been striving to accomplish through these last few years of pivoting and moving hands-on events into online realms is to as however possible, creatively and diligently aim to build a connection with one another, with classmates and teachers, and with the plants, despite moving through these virtual realms. So I will say with a measure of confidence that we are all zoomed out. We are all virtual classed out at this point, I am sure, but by no means is the Family Herbalist or the Community Herbalist program just a curriculum full of videos. The sense of community that we're amazingly able to establish despite the virtual platform and the ability to practice these teachings in a hands-on environment is something that we've both really been striving to provide in that program. And just to speak to your family class, I know your students and graduates have really experienced those efforts and lauded them. So kudos to you for that.
Thank you. Emily, I continue to be amazed at what we're able to do in the virtual landscape in a way that we never expected to be able to. Just really seeing people really genuinely connecting in that virtual landscape. Yeah.
Yeah, our classes historically have always been people and plant centered and building a sense of community with one another and with the plants themselves is really paramount and central to our work. So it's delightful that we're able to continue to reach folks that wouldn't necessarily be able to travel to Orlando once a week and still be able to connect in that way. And whether it's the weekend program of Family Herbalist this fall or the weekly option starting in the new year, both offer the opportunity for students to step outside of their daily life just enough to really engage and immerse in the plant world and the natural world and get that sort of dose of medicine alongside of their teachings for sure.
Yeah. It really becomes a place for not just myself, because it's true for me, but the students finding it as a place of comfort and solace from all the things that are going on in the world, if nothing else. Even if there's no plant information gleaned from a weekend, just having a place to connect with other folks who have this primary intention of learning the historical uses of plants and really connecting with the natural world. Once folks have graduated from the Family Herbalist program, either from the virtual component or in person, there are, I don't know, as a previous licensed educator, I hesitate to say test, but there are assessments, there are questions after each module, really designed to give you a chance to take the information and synthesize it in your mind and be able to know that you've learned all these things. It's really the primary goal of each of the questions. And it tells us that you're ready to move on to the next step in our core curriculum, which is the Community Herbalist program.
Yeah, and that, as the third level is really intending to build upon everything that you've learned in the first two programs. We can kind of loosely think about the Roots of Herbalism program, really establishing a solid framework for self-health and self-care with herbalism. And then the Family Herbalist program allows us to take what we've learned and what we've experienced with these plants in our own health and our own practice and share that with our family and friends and those that are in the closest circles to us. And the Community Herbalist program is for those students who have heard the call of the plants tapping at their heart and are seeking to deepen their relationship with the plants and to continue that journey. We think of it as a professional program and a preclinical program, but the unique and beautiful thing about the realm of herbalism is that it's not a one-size-fits-all cookie cutter professional path. There are so many creative ways that our students and graduates have taken what they've learned in the 3 programs and stepped into the professional world of herbalism or the entrepreneurial world of herbalism. And it sometimes looks like what you might imagine an herbal profession, starting an herb store or continuing a clinical practice or teaching or making products and creating a product line. But there are also so many other ways that our students and graduates have woven what they've learned at the school into a professional path. Some are doing formulation and consulting work for other companies. Some are educating in public school or university realms and weaving in what they've learned in their classes into those spaces. Some have gone on to become counselors or social workers, but have this root of holistic health that they've learned in our program at the base of those practices. And on and on and on. We have some authors and photographers and herbal travel agents with all sorts of unique and creative ways that our graduates have woven in their teachings and knowledge from our school into their path. So the Community Herbalist program is really about deepening relationship with the body, with the plants, and with the community, and understanding some of the root levels of health, like social determinants of health and community and ecological health as a mirror for personal health and social health and all these sort of foundational principles. And then sort of dipping our toes in the pond of all these different places where we can bring herbalism to our community, whether it's through teaching. Our students get to experience teaching through our Roots Roundtable program, or whether it's through consulting. We have our sliding scale clinic that our students get to shadow and then be supervised in the practice of consulting, or medicine making, or entrepreneurship. All these different sort of facets of herbalism we are exposed to and we get to experience in the Community Herbalist program, so that students can get a taste, a morsel of all these different possibilities and really experience what lights up their heart and what's really going to fuel their continuing plant path. As a framework for all of those experiences, we follow a book by Nancy and Michael Phillips called The Herbalist's Way, which exposes us to a number of different teachers and herbalists and the different walks that they have taken with this work. And we also have a very solid framework of anatomy and physiology and pathology that we explore together. So we take the sort of what you might think of as lay anatomy or family anatomy that Maggie teaches in the family herbal program, and we continue to geek out and deepen our knowledge of that, nerd out a little bit on anatomy so that we can be very versed and responsible in our work with our clients and with future students in the program. And we also dive into things like regulatory practices, both in the state of Florida and outside of Florida, and business planning and financial planning, so that those students that are on an entrepreneurial path have some support and guidance along the way. And we, again, like many of the programs at lots of schools, have had shifts because of COVID in the format that we offer our program. So the Community Herbalist program now meets once a week on Sunday afternoons and evenings via Zoom, which is actually a great opportunity for us to build community and get to connect with one another. And then every so often, we also meet on Saturdays or Sundays in Orlando with Maggie and Debbie and Shay and Shannon and other guest teachers to have some hands-on experience foraging, gardening, cultivating, medicine making, so that we can balance the work that we're doing week to week with returning to the plants and the soil and that sort of primary teacher and engaging in that way. So whether you live outside of Orlando or in Orlando, you'll have opportunities to be part of our ongoing program. And the community program is a 9-month program. So we start in October and we graduate in May. The second half of the program, as I mentioned, we're involved in our student clinic, our herbal consultation sliding scale to the community. And we also have our Roots Roundtable once a month on Wednesday nights that students participate in, which is a great way to both build community and test out what it feels like to teach a group of students about what you love about the plants. We just had a class graduate, I guess about 6 weeks ago, and I still feel like I'm buzzing off the energetic high of seeing those students and that really transformative 9 months that they worked hard and diligently, but also worked really soulfully and open-heartedly, and are now bringing their communities these beautiful gifts of leadership with the plants at the helm. So I could continue to wax poetic because I deeply love what students bring to the program and seeing the blossoming of these students. But I will wrap up with a few other details, which is that all three of our programs, Roots, Family, and Community, offer continuing education units for licensed professionals in the healthcare field. The hours of these programs, especially the preclinical consultation hours and the case studies and the feedback for assessments and protocols and diagnostics and all of those things that we experience in community class, can be counted for students that wish to continue onward to apply for their recognition through the American Herbalist Guild. And we are, as a school, a member of that guild as well. So those are some of the common questions that we get about, especially the community program, and all of your hours can count both for CEU credits and for adding to the experiences and hours that you gather for those of you that wish to continue on for professional recognition with the AHG.
Yeah, Emily, the Community Herbalist program, I still reflect on my time going through that program and really getting an opportunity to think about myself as an herbalist and what I want to bring to the world as an herbalist, and really think about it. As you mentioned, the opportunities to teach, see clients, engage with medicine making, all the different possibilities of being an herbalist, growing things. And it's been really incredible to watch what each individual decides to take in their next step after completing that program, and the diversity that happens there. Like, so many people doing really different things, and really sharing how much they got from the program and being able to just be given a space, if nothing else. There's so much content and there's so much material and so much learning. And I think the biggest thing that I have pulled from the program is being given the opportunity to really think about how I want to bring my herbalist self into the world. So thanks for that. And you touched on the American Herbalist Guild training, and I think a really big question that we get asked all the time outside of what can I do with this program is, what kind of license does that give me? Do you want to go into that?
Sure. It's a complicated question, and it is one of the more common questions that we receive from folks. And the abbreviated answer, I could talk about this all day long. Those of you that are interested in nerding out on it, drop us a line at the school. I'll be happy to chat more. But the simple answer is that there is no state or federal agency that licenses or certifies herbalists. And among the herbalist community, there's a lot of conversation about this. And ultimately, the majority of herbalists who I know, folks that have been doing this decades longer than I've even been alive, feel that this lack of standardization is a benefit both to herbalists in the practice and to those in our community that we serve, because like the plants themselves, there's no one size fits all prescription or mandate or standardization of how herbs can support an individual's health. And there are so many historic and cultural traditions from which we have learned directly these teachings, and from which many of us have borrowed these teachings, and we have to acknowledge those cultures. And so there would be a real disservice to the plants and the cultures that these teachings come from were we to standardize them and sort of fit them into a box. And so that's both a blessing in that it allows the herbalists in practice to be as diverse as the plants that we work with. But it also means that as a potential client of an herbalist. There's no sort of letters behind someone's name that can say whether or not they have had a certain amount of training or a certain, type of recognition. It's really incumbent upon us as potential students and potential clients to inquire about the training and the background and the education and the mentoring that a practitioner has done, so that we know we're putting our health or our learning in the good hands of an herbalist. 25 or 30 years ago, an organization was formed of herbalists called the American Herbalist Guild to be a professional body that isn't standardizing or licensing herbalists or certifying herbalists even, but that is creating a set of educational standards and professional standards, so that those herbalists that do want to be sort of peer reviewed in a sense can submit their training and their hours and their mentorship and their practice and receive the review and subsequent recognition of their peers. So AHG, like no other state or federal agency, is licensing or certifying herbalists, but does offer what's called a registered herbalist recognition, which is an application process, a series of consultation hours, showing the educational work that you've done, and then that's reviewed by a group of practicing herbalists to sort of welcome you in with recognition for the work that you've done. There are a lot of herbalists I know, amazing herbalists that have that recognition, and an equal number of incredible practicing herbalists that don't have that recognition. But we as a school do support our students that want to follow that path, if they choose to apply for recognition through the Guild, both by actively supporting you in your application, but also by having built a curriculum that meets the standards of the Guild, so that you can sort of have a really solid foundation if that's the path that you choose to pursue.
Yeah, Emily, you mentioned the term practicing herbalist, and that's definitely a term I use for myself, practicing herbalist, because it is a practice. I'm constantly doing research. I'm constantly asking questions of people who are utilizing whatever historical knowledge I've shared. It's definitely a practice. So it's not something that, you get to the end of the community herbalist program and suddenly you're a master herbalist or some degree ending that's gives you a chance to go into the world and never ever look and do any more research in the future. There are a lot of terms out there like practicing or clinical herbalist or community herbalist that in the herbal community, there's also no standardization around the use of these terms or taking them on. Recently, I was interviewed by the folks over at Herb Rally, and they asked us a question: when did you feel comfortable taking on the term herbalist? And I talked about how sometimes I'm not even sure I'm comfortable now, because I feel like the more I learn, the more I realize there's so much more to learn. However, I think, Emily, you were the first person that said you were an herbalist when you got here to the Florida School of Holistic Living, and I think it was 2013 or 12. And even though I had all of this herbal background, I didn't feel comfortable calling myself an herbalist, because I felt like there was so much more to learn, and I still feel that way. Can you talk about some of these terms and the background around them and ways that people can either support this idea or engage with this idea of having different terms or levels of being an herbalist?
Yeah, absolutely. And I think I'll preface it by saying that all of, just like the, standardization of, certifying herbalists, that our opinions about what we should call ourselves is often as diverse as the people and plants that are part of the herbal field themselves, especially in the Western herbal world in North America. But I would say that it's long been my opinion, and I think this is probably why I made that comment to you many years ago, that if we grow peppermint in our backyard, or if we make basil pesto with our meals, or if we enjoy a cup of chamomile tea at night, then we're herbalists. We're bona fide herbalists. Those of us that honor the plants and grow the plants and work with the plants and acknowledge their healing powers, even if we don't know all there is to know about all the plants and all the parts of the body. My teacher, Rosemary Gladstar, was always advocating for there to be an herbalist in every home. And I think that's the concept of, if we are working with herbs, then we can rightfully call ourselves an herbalist. But beyond sort of that simple label and definition, it's really, a wide variety of other, layers or levels to what an herbalist might be. I know I've long adopted and appreciated the term community herbalist as someone who has studied and worked with the plants long enough to responsibly and respectfully share what they know about the plants with others in their community for the benefit of their community and for the plants themselves, which can look like someone who's teaching, or someone who's making medicine, or someone who is seeing someone in a health consultation. And I often think of community herbalist as it could be someone that's seeing someone clinically, but not necessarily. I think the term clinical herbalist for me is someone who has had hundreds, if not thousands of hours of supervised clinical experience working in health consultations. Often they've had formal training in anatomy or physiology or some sort of medical background to support understanding how the body works and how not just the energetic principles of plants, but the phytochemistry interacts with the body. And those are kind of community and clinical herbalist are the terms that I see a lot of my colleagues adopting and utilizing to describe the practice that they're doing. And I, very clearly like to point out to potential students that the community herbalist program gives students experience working in consultations with the support of a supervising herbalist, but we consider it a preclinical program, not a fully clinical program, because we believe that in order to truly adopt the term clinical herbalist, you would need additional experience and support working in that setting to really, again, responsibly and respectfully carry that title out in the world and share this immense amount of information with others. It's when someone comes to me in a consultation, they are handing their health over to me. That's an immense responsibility, and one that I don't take lightly. Practicing herbalist is something that a community or a clinical herbalist might adopt that title to describe the work that they do. And I think it was both Rosemary and Margie Flint that really instilled for me the importance of acknowledging that we are always practicing. Every cup of tea that I make, every assessment that I do with a client or a student, every class that I teach, I'm still learning. And like you said earlier, the more that I learn about herbalism, the more I see that there is to learn and the deeper rabbit holes there are to dive down. And so I would finally say that recently I was interviewed and the journalist used the term, "So you're a master herbalist." And I was very, very quick to correct them that despite having done this work for 25 years, I will never frankly call myself a master herbalist, because the plants have humbled me, as have my students and clients, enough to know that I don't imagine in this lifetime, maybe ask me when I'm like 85 or 90, but I don't anticipate there being a time that I will have mastered this as a practice. I will constantly be learning and bowing humbly to the plants, who are the real masters of this work that we share. So that's my soapbox about herbalist terms and labels.
Yeah, I think that the way that you present that is so much what I would say as well. I feel like that was to the point, and really, I feel like when we think about these terms, and we often get the question, and we have the question here, what is unique about our school? What is unique about our programming? And I really feel like one thing that makes our school unique, besides offering continuing education units for practitioners, is this thought that we stay really focused on building that community of people and recognizing that herbalism is a practice and we need each other. I'm rarely going to be practicing herbalism in a bubble. I need my community around. I need input from both my cohort, and Deb Steinkraus and I went through the Community Herbalist program together, and I still call on her and ask her questions and check in with Emily, my teacher of that program, and ask questions about how I'm engaging as an herbalist. And I really feel like that's something that makes us unique. What would you say, Emily?
Yeah, I think that it's, you know, really plant-centered and people-centered, and to leave the program not just with, you know, a stack of knowledge and information, but also with a group of friends and colleagues and comrades to support you in your journey. And I'd say that that doesn't just speak to your classmates, but also to us as teachers who are really invested in our students and have built lifelong relationships with our graduates to support them. I think we also strive to provide a lot of resources to students. So it's you get a jam-packed, you know, weekend or evening class or whatever each week. But we also really strive to empower you with lots of resources to continue your research, to continue your learning. If you know, months after the program have a question that wasn't answered by the course, I hope that you know where you can look to find that answer, and that you have lots of support and resources to continue beyond that. And we're situated in the, you know, subtropical zone 9 southern region. So a lot of our students come from other regions, and we cover herbs and materia medica really from all over Turtle Island, from all over the North American continent. But we are situated, in our home base, our roots are in the swamps of Central Florida, and the really unique plant life, the sort of melting pot biodiversity of apothecary plants that are growing in our backyard there. So especially for folks that live in Florida, we really provide a unique opportunity to learn not just about herbs that you might find in a health food store or read about in a modern herbal mainstream book, but really to learn about the plants in your own backyard.
It's really a deep part of the type of herbalism that really connected with is this idea that the plants that we need are found growing in our backyards or in our nearby landscape. Really is an important part of what we're offering.
Yeah.
Thank you for bringing that up. Definitely. We have other questions about paying for programming, scholarship options, and Emily and I recently applied for a grant where we realized that we increased our scholarships and free offerings by 350% since 2019, which is really a huge part of what our school is trying to offer, is access. This information has been a part of people's homes for thousands of years, and we really want to return to that. So we offer so many different options for payment plans for the family and community herbalist program, as well as some scholarship options and work study. We've had several students that have come through our program and helped us out with marketing or working in the garden, which we always need hands for on the garden. So don't let the price tag of any of the program limit you or think that you shouldn't apply. We have a scholarship option that you can reach out to Deb in our office if you just want to ask questions about it. If you want to get a sample of what it might look like before enrolling, feel free to reach out with any questions there.
Yeah, thanks, Maggie.
Yeah, sure. Some other questions are really, Emily, they're really people are always asking, what can I do with this, right? We talked a little bit about next steps and some of the background that people have had coming into our program, from nursing to massage to I was a classroom teacher. People come from all these different perspectives. And then what do you, Emily, feel like they leave being able to do in their community after their community herbalist program experience? Specifically, there was a question about opening up an herb shop.
Yeah, those are great questions. And definitely, I think a question that probably Debbie gets a lot when folks are calling into the office to learn more about the work that we do. But I will reflect on an assignment that we visit several times throughout the 9 months of the Community Herbalist course. And it's a list that I have to credit Seven Song, an herbalist in Ithaca, New York, for creating. And we've, over the years, added to his list, but he called it herbalistic practices or herbalistic professions, and starts out with a list of 70 some different professions or entrepreneurial paths that someone who studies herbalism can step into. And over the years, we've, as classes, added something. So now it's like 100 or 120 different potential ideas. And, the long and short of it is that in the Community Herbalist program, we are really intending to support our students in identifying what the plants are calling them uniquely to bring to the world. How are the plants calling you as an individual student to serve the plants and the planet and your community? Because if we are following our soul's calling, if we are really in the unique path that we are being called to do, we are going to be far more successful than if we're trying to fit ourselves as a round peg into a square hole and try to fit someone else's idea. And we live in a capitalistic world. We all have to keep the lights on and put food on our family's table. But there are, I can tell you, evidence in every single one of our graduating classes of the Community Herbalist program of students who have creatively been able to follow their unique path and be very successful in the world and have a living wage and support their families. And some students are really called to do one-on-one consultation work and either to support individuals in their community with their consultations, like wearing that hat specifically, or by working in alignment with another healthcare provider, or by learning about herbalism. And then we've had students that have been so into the work that they've gone on to get other training in other health professions to layer onto it. Or like you said, some nurses that come into the program and already have that training and are adding the herbal layer to it. We have dozens upon dozens of students who do teaching of herbalism, and not necessarily that they're setting up a brick and mortar school, but they'll teach at their local library, or they'll teach at their church, or they'll teach at the local hospice or assisted living facility, or teaching in venues where there is a need and a calling and an opportunity to bring that information and support. And then absolutely, we have students who have started herb stores. They are beautiful stores. They have, plants in the windows and all sorts of great smelling herbs when you walk in. We've had students that have started their own product lines and are distributing their plant creations throughout their community. So I think that's a very rambling answer to say that what can you do when you leave this program? You can do whatever the plants are calling you to do, and whatever is going to really light up your heart. And we are here to support you in clarifying what that path is, and also providing you the tools so that you can put some legs on that dream, so that you can know what are regulations and what are small business resources in my community, and what are templates for business plans or intake forms, so that you can lean on herbalists that have come before you. You don't have to recreate the wheel. You can really have access to this vast array of resources to support whatever direction your path is taking you on. as you can imagine, I'm really passionate about this part of our program because it's really beautiful to see students clarifying their dream and fulfilling their dream and playing a very small role in supporting that. It's ultimately the plants are the ones singing them that guidance and direction, and we're just there to help them sort of open their hearts to hear it and find the resources to make it real. But whether it's an herb store, a product line, teaching, consulting, or some totally other creative entrepreneurial path in herbalism, we've seen students do many, many examples of that. And if you are listening today and have a particular inkling of the path you might want to take and are wondering if this school is a good fit to help you get there, please visit our website, contact us through the contact form. We can schedule a time to chat. We just love to, workshop this with students to see if what we are so delighted and passionate to share here at the school would be a good fit for your path.
Yeah, thanks, Emily. I feel like this idea of what you can do is so broad and limitless, really. And it's really about taking information and doing with it whatever you feel drawn into. We have a student or someone asking a question in Facebook to detail the clinical time. And that's really, the last 6 weeks of the Community Herbalist program, where you're getting a chance to sit in on herbal consultations. And because there's no licensing, it's not that people are seeking medical advice. We are not qualified to give medical advice. We don't encourage the use of any type of language around that. We're really here to give herbal consultations, historic information about working with plants, whether I'm teaching a class or seeing a client. That's really the perspective that I'm coming from, is really thinking about how I'm just sharing this plant knowledge and really keeping it connected and grounded in that.
Absolutely. And that's something, especially in the Community Herbalist program, we really emphasize. So folks that are continuing onward will understand the parameters and the boundaries of practicing this work, for whether you have a concurrent license or if you're just practicing as an herbalist. And we start the first month of the program working with roundtables and case studies. Students themselves early in the program have the experience of working with herbalists, so they can see what it's like to sit in that client seat. And then all of that culminates and builds as we develop assessment skills and protocol and formulation skills and intake forms and a whole manner of materials to support us in those final few months of the program, where we are active in sitting in supervision in those consultations. And for that student who asked, we do have some information that details and outlines the syllabus on the class website, but that also sounds like a great question to drop us a line in our contact us form so we can provide more details and make sure that we've answered your question adequately.
Thanks for asking. It's a great question.
Mm-hmm.
Emily, I think that we have touched on all of the questions that I see here, either the ones that have been emailed in or asked about us before, as well as questions in the current Facebook Live. To wrap up, I just want to say we welcome your questions, and I stand in gratitude of being a conduit for anything that the plants and the plant wisdom have to send through me. And it is a real honor to sit in the position of being able to really have this as a primary focus in my life. So thank you for joining us as we talk about the programming, and I look forward to hearing from you with your questions or in classes coming up.
Absolutely. Please don't hesitate to reach out to Maggie and Debbie and I and the whole team. Thank you again so much, whether you're tuning in live or watching the replay, for taking a little time out to allow us to share what we're so obviously passionate about. And we hope that you all have lots of health and wellness and bright sunshine in your summer days ahead.
Bye for now.